Hey everybody, it's Daniel with Petal Pickers. I'm here today for Ask a Flower Farmer live. I know you're usually used to Lisa being here, but she has asked me to take over today. And in a little bit, I'm going to give you the chance to ask me questions about our flower farm, Petal Pickers, about gardening or anything related to the topics, about how we do operate our business. I'm open to everything. But if you do have a question for me, there should be a little circle down at the bottom right hand of the screen with a question mark in it. It looks like a comment bubble. And if you click that, that's going to be the best way for you to ask me a question. It's going to be the easiest way for me to see all of your questions. So I'm going to start with a big intro about me and how I got started flower farming and our farm, Petal Pickers. And then I'm going to show you around our workshop for a little bit. And then I'll let you ask all the questions and I'll do my best to answer all of them. And hopefully we all learned something today. So our farm, Petal Pickers, I guess I'll start before that at the very beginning. I met my husband, Wesley Turner, and we met in 2008. And then the following year in 2009, we opened a small business here in Greenville, South Carolina called Roots. And I'm originally from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Wes is originally from Covington, Tennessee. And I have a business degree from Clemson University, and he has a horticulture degree from Mississippi State. So we have a little bit of knowledge there that has helped us along the way. At Roots, we started off selling house plants originally, and then outdoor plants as we opened an outdoor garden center. And that's where I really learned most of my knowledge about plants and gardening and the nursery industry, because prior to that, I really did not know much about gardening at all. And I wish I did, because I would have gone to school for it and it would have made things a little bit easier. But with our Roots plant shop, about 5 years into the business, I started a container planting service where I would go around town and plant the fancy ladies containers and other local businesses around town. And that's really where I started to learn like how plants grow together and the different options and how like the design of containers, how different elements all fit together to make a beautiful arrangement. And I also started like sourcing a little heavier for like the specialty plants and topiaries and stuff that we could bring into our garden center and make it different and a little bit better than all the rest around us. And just in doing that, I learned a lot about the nursery industry as a whole and how it operates with wholesalers and everything. So that was a lot of information that just through time I learned, but honestly, I had no idea about how to start plants from seeds or anything about growing cut flowers when we started our farm. So a lot of time goes by. I have a timeline here with me so I get the dates right. But in 2016, so that was 6 years ago, we decided we were going to buy a farm. And Wesley wanted it really for like animals, and he grew up in the country and just wanted to kind of get out away from the city. And we knew we were going to buy the farm, and we were on vacation at the beach in the spring of 2016. We stopped at a daffodil U-pick farm, totally random, on the way home from our vacation. And we just saw all these people picking their own daffodils. It was a U-pick. And we thought, wow, that would be a great idea for us to do on our new farm that we're about to get started. And so I started searching online. I came across Lisa on Facebook when she had just probably started doing her lives on Facebook then. And so I learned how to soil block and just general information about what Lisa was doing. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. Kept looking into more about flower farming because of her. So then in 2018, she started her online course. I was in her first class of the flower farming school, and that really broadened my eyes, like who I could sell to, the different varieties of flowers I could grow, because I really did not have that knowledge starting off. I think the first year I just grew some celosia and zinnias and stuff that I saw Lisa growing on Facebook, but we were just selling at our own retail store. I didn't really understand the rest of the community that would want to buy our flowers. Well, things took off from there, that's for sure. And I'll give you a little info about our farm. So Petal Pickers Farm is located on our property. We live here, and it's 14 acres. The driveway splits it straight down the middle, and so I have 8 acres dedicated to our flower farm, and then the rest, we have our house and our animals, and Wes keeps me away from planting stuff all around there because he knows that I'll go back and cut it later, and he wants that to be the pretty side of the farm. I would say we're actually growing about 3 to 4 acres intensively of annuals, perennials, and bulbs, and some blooming shrubs. We aren't too heavy in that, but we have started planting that, and we've been growing for 6 seasons now, but only selling for 5 seasons because, you know, the first season doesn't count. That's when you're learning, you don't really know what you're doing, and you make a lot of mistakes, even though we still make mistakes all the time. And I have 10 high tunnels. That's an interesting fact. And I got them all from Farmer's Friend. So they're not huge, but they're all 100 feet long, and that really helps us to extend our growing season. Early in the spring is mainly what we utilize them for, but also we continuously plant them throughout the summer. And all of this to say that I feel like I'm a great example of someone who knew nothing about growing cut flowers when they started their farm, but I have really taken a deep dive and tried to learn as much from Lisa and her online courses, and I've taken so many of her online courses. I highly recommend them all. And I also joined the ASCFG. I want to give a shout out to them. That's a national organization. It's called the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers, and that really kind of connects all the flower growers across the country, and they have recommended books that you can read, so I bought all of those. But in a short period of time, I have learned a lot. Okay, so where is our farm located? I'm going to give you an idea about the conditions that we grow in here. We are growing right outside of Greenville, South Carolina. It's an up-and-coming city. It's on a lot of top 10 lists, and we get a lot of national publicity for it. We have 4 great individual seasons here, so we're not hot all year, we're not cool all year. We have 4 distinct seasons, and we are located halfway between Charlotte and Atlanta. So if you visualize that on a map, that's where we are. It's growing zone 8A, and our ground really never freezes here, so we take that into consideration when we're planting our cool season annuals in the middle of winter. We can pretty much plant anytime during the season here on the farm. And we do get snow, and we drop down to the teens occasionally, like once or twice during winter. So we do have to protect a lot of our crops in the winter, but overall, I would say we have a wet and mild winter and then a hot and humid summer. And our frost dates, for anyone that's interested in that, our first frost date is early November. Usually the first week is when we get hit with the frost in November, and then our last frost day is April 15th. And that's in the spring. We have lots of orange clay on our farm and in the region generally, because the mountains are about an hour north of us, like Asheville, North Carolina, if you've heard of that. And the beaches, like Charleston, South Carolina, is a straight drive. It's 3 hours from our farm. But we're in the middle, so we don't have a lot of rocks. We have the orange clay, and we don't have a lot of sand. That's a little bit further south for us. Our farm ships bouquets nationwide. I think I have a Instagram story right now of our bouquet that we're shipping today. So if you want to send a bouquet to your friend or a loved one, we have subscriptions available where you can choose to receive a bouquet every week, every other week, or once a month. And also, if you just want to purchase a bouquet one time to send as a gift, we have that available also at petalpickers.com. We grow like 10,000 dahlias are in the ground right now on our farm. And so we grow a ton of dahlias. We sell the dahlia tubers in the fall, so you will want to check that out. And last year we started selling tulip bulbs, daffodil bulbs, even peony roots. We just kind of got into the bulb game. So it went really well, and look out for that. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website, petalpickers.com, to stay in the know, and we'll let you know when all of our goodies go on sale in the fall. Okay, so make sure you are typing in questions if you have any down below it's a little comment bubble with a question mark in the middle of it, and if you tap that, you should be able to ask your questions. All right, so now I'm going to show you around the workshop real quick, and this will kind of give you an idea of what we have going on at Petal Pickers. I don't go live very much, so I'm trying to take a second and see. Oh, we have 100 people on here. That's pretty good. I'm going to show you kind of this is our workshop. So it's a 3,000 square foot building. It was here on the property when we purchased the farm. And let me see if this will turn the camera around. Okay. So this is inside of our workshop. This is our shipping room, and everyone's having fun. We're making boxes because we're shipping our flowers out this afternoon. This is our office area. And then this is our grow room. So we actually mimicked this grow room after Lisa at the Gardener's Workshop Farm. It's in an enclosed room. And because it has like the ceiling in it, it gets the temperature really warm during the summer, and it holds the temperature relatively warm during the winter too. But we have all of our little plants growing in soil blocks, just like Lisa taught us. And a lot of these are some of these are ready to go out. I'll show you where we move them after the grow room. This is, what do we have here? Frosted explosion grass. So these are all going to be like our last round of stuff. We're starting from seed that will be still blooming this fall in our season. And then I know I've heard Lisa talk about this recently, but this is Dianthus electron. And so you have to start this seed in July, and then it has to vernalize or go through winter outside for a set amount of time for it to bloom in spring. We've started the seed now, but it's actually not going to be blooming until like April and May of next season. And so I just wanted to remind everybody, if you want to grow electron dianthus, you need to start it now. We have some celosia here, and this is probably a lot of celosia, some gumfrena, and we're kind of pushing the edge of the boundary on to see if we can get this to bloom before our season is finished. Again, we don't have a freeze here until the first week of November. All right, and so now let's go into this room. This is our main work room, and if you follow us on Instagram, we're at Petal Pickers. And we just painted this workshop, so you will have to go back and see how ugly it was. And we've worked and grown a lot of flowers in this space for the last 6 years, but a fresh coat of paint does wonders. And this is where we make bouquets. So we've already made a lot this morning, and if enough of y'all order bouquets, we'll get the flowers back out and make some more, because we can ship them today for delivery tomorrow. We ship every week on Wednesdays. But we just have all of our general supplies, and this is our workspace setup. We have a walk-in cooler here. I'll show you that in a second. And then we have like our farm maintenance. We have a big space over there with a couple other coolers. We have our buckets here, bucket washing. And then this is where all of our plants go after they've been growing in the grow room. So we still have some dahlia tubers that we've started. We've taken enough cuttings, and that's the last of the cuttings to get potted up. But these need to get planted. We have a lot of stuff that needs to get planted all the time, and we never get everything done, but we try our best. And so this is new for us. We have a greenhouse with no plastic or shade cloth on it. The electricians just got finished and plugging everything up, so we still have to get propane for our heater before winter comes, and we have everything we need. But we've been working on this setup since fall. We're gonna try to grow tulip bulbs in here and get them a little bit earlier, and also get into the game of dahlia cuttings. And it'll allow us to take a lot more cuttings for our farm and also possibly sell to everyone else. So we're doing a trial. We just needed a greenhouse to start that, but it also just gives us a great space to start all of our seeds and then move them out here. All of these trays used to be in front of our workshop everywhere, and so to have them all together in one space is really nice. This is the leftover of our lilies. This was our first year growing lily bulbs, and they have been an excellent addition to our bouquets this season. So y'all make sure to ask me any questions if you have about what I'm showing you. Go down to the bottom right. There's a question bubble with a question mark in it, and if you tap that, I'll answer your questions in just a minute. So this is one of our coolers. You can see our sunflowers, some florist orders, our bouquets that we started making this morning. We use the Cool Bot, and I probably shouldn't go too deep in here, I might lose you, but we had tuberose and stuff like that as well. So I hope that was exciting to see where we work. It's always fun to do like a farm visit. I'm actually going to Five Fork Farms in Boston in a week or two with the ASCFG, and I'm going to tour their farm. They are a huge farm up there, and I'm so excited. So anytime you get a chance to tour a farm, you should do it. And this is where I was planning to set this up, and I look like an angel with all the light growing behind me. But let's see if we can answer some questions. Okay. All right, here's the first question from Yellowbird Flower Farm. My calendula is getting tired. If I cut it back to the ground, will it come back? And I don't know exactly. I grew calendula my first year or two, and it was so short because I probably did something wrong, but I did fall plant it, and it was one of the first flowers to bloom on my farm. But you have to remember, we're in the South, and so we go from cold to pretty warm, like into the 80s very quick. And so some of those really early season flowers like calendula that still need the heat to get going in early spring, but then it becomes too much heat really quick. So I only grew it one season. Mine was short. It depends on where you live. I would say if you have something else to plant there that you can still get flowers from this season, I would just get rid of the calendula if it's getting tired. And I would say that for most crops. Once you've gotten the best out of your crop, then go in and mow it down and just plant something different or get it ready for the next season. All right. I think I did that right. Yep, that went away. Okay. Here is from Julie Garden Diary, another question. What zone are you, and when do you start your cool flowers? So we're in growing zone. On some maps it says we're 7B, but I do not go by that. I firmly tell all of my flower farmer friends we are zone 8A, and just right up the street from us, other flower farms, the elevation starts to go up, and it's not far that they are a true 7B, but we're flat here on our farm. We're at the base of all the elevation, and I say that we're zone 8A. So we start our cool flowers. We are going to be starting our seed usually around September 1st to the 30th. So the month of September, we're starting our seeds for cool flowers, and then our planting goal is to plant October into November. So it's always good to get some of your cool season hardy annuals into the ground before the frost starts to come so that they can get established for a few weeks. But for us, we've had a couple seasons here where it's like 95 degrees in the middle of October before the cool fronts start coming through to cool everything down. So you have to look at the weather forecast. I look at it every morning and probably 5 times a day because it does change, and I just use the app on my phone. I just use the Weather Channel, Weather Underground are 2 good ones, and really look at the forecast, especially in September and October. So I hope that helps. All right. Pulling up another one. Ashley says, I want to start a flower farm. I have about 12 workable acres on my 100-acre property. I'm in Canada. What's your best piece of advice? Okay, I definitely have probably the complete opposite growing season that you do being in Canada. So I know that in Canada, I follow a guy named Carl, and he only grows woody shrubs, and then he ships those around Canada to the US. I'm not sure where, but you have lots of options when you want to start a flower farm. So he only grows blooming shrubs. And then there's Janice Harris. You should follow her. Antonio Valente, Melon. You have I know a lot of Canadian growers, but I don't really compare like my season there. So I just grow hot stuff. Like right now we're growing Lysianthus like crazy, Celosia. I'm not sure if y'all could even grow Celosia very successfully, but my advice is 12 workable acres is a huge space. Like you're going to want to start on half an acre your first season and give yourself grace on even being able to handle that. And then the next season go to an acre. I bet peonies would grow really well for you. And from my experience in the last 6 years, we keep adding peonies to our farm because it's just a reliable and a really profitable flower for us to grow on our farm. And since you have the space, I would definitely think about ordering some peonies and just decide like if you're going to want to be growing mixed bouquets, or if you want to sell, if you have a lot of florists around you or you're close to a large city, that's going to determine what path you want to go. So I would try to envision who you want to sell to and then start planting your crops around that. Hope that helps. Okay, this is a good one. Hayden asked, is there a peony that will do okay in zone 9B? I've tried and they didn't do well. And I feel like people do have peonies in their yards around here. We're zone 8A, but a lot of people think that we're too hot to grow peonies, and that is not true. So it's very important on the variety selection, especially if you're in zone 9B. But I have friends in California, in New Orleans, Louisiana that are trying to grow peonies, and they are able to get some varieties to grow. So the trick that you're going to want to do is research the earliest blooming variety of peonies. So peonies, you can order them in early blooming, mid blooming, or late blooming, and that just tells you like what part of their season are they going to be blooming in. You want to focus only on the earliest blooming peonies that you can get, and those just need the shortest amount of time of cold period, and that's what I would look into. Like I said, I've never grown peonies in 9B, but that is definitely what I would look into. Coral Charm is a very early blooming peony. Etched Salmon is a little more expensive, but it's a very early blooming peony as well. So you may want to start by looking into those two because they're pretty popular varieties. All right, we're moving on to the next question. I have a lot and I hope I can get through them. I need to speed it up. When do you receive tulip bulbs and do you get pre-chilled? So we're growing in the South again, and yes, I have found this very beneficial to grow tulips, to get them pre-chilled before they arrive on our farm, or you can also pre-chill them yourself. So we have 3 walk-in coolers here at the farm, and we specifically built the 2 additional coolers for us to hold all of our tulips when they bloom, and also so that we can pre-chill some of our bulbs if we need to. They usually arrive like in the end of October. You can get them chilled 2 different like degrees. You can get them halfway chilled, which is called 9C cooling, and you can ask your supplier if they offer that. And then last year I experimented, which was very risky. I don't know why I do stuff like this, but everyone that I know around here gets their tulips pre-chilled to 9C. But last year I said, I'm just gonna try and get them 5C chilled, which is the coolest. That means that they have had all of their cooling period already provided before they arrive to you. And everything seemed to work out great. They did bloom a little closer together, like timeline wise, but I had a bunch of different varieties, so it kind of naturally staggered itself. So if you're in a warm climate, I would say definitely zone 8 or warmer, and you want to try and grow tulip bulbs, you need to look into getting them pre-chilled, and your supplier can give you more information about that. All right, bachelor buttons. I planted them because everyone raves about them. What tips do you have? This is a great one. I planted bachelor buttons too, my first couple years of growing cut flowers, and they are great. They're a great cut flower, and that dark burgundy, there's blush colored ones that are great. The blue is what they're known for because blue is such a hard color to find in nature, and that blue bachelor button will make your bouquets pop in early spring, but they're a lot to keep up with. So when I didn't even tell y'all how we have like 6 employees here at the farm. We have 4 full-time and 2 part-time. And when I was paying our employees to cut bachelor buttons, and I grew 4 50-foot rows of bachelor buttons one spring, that was the end of bachelor buttons because we couldn't keep up with it. They were harvesting them for hours, and I learned my lesson that you don't need a lot of bachelor buttons to go a long way. So definitely start them. They're one of the easiest plants you can grow, and they really are a good cut flower. So just make sure you're going to be using it as an accent, and you want to grow other flowers along with it. Okay. What setup do you have for irrigation? Do you find you still need to hand water? Okay, we only hand water after we plant transplants in our field, right after we plant them. So we always hand water our transplants in, but we have drip irrigation throughout our entire farm. So even though I did not know what I was doing, Wesley and I, when we were building the farm, like we had our land cleared for it. It had been previously cleared, but it was really grown up. And so we dug trenches across the whole 8-acre flower farm and put in our own plumbing. It still works, but one day it's going to give because we didn't know what we were doing, and it's not that deep under the ground. But the irrigation allows us to water any of our sections on the farm with drip tape irrigation, and we definitely utilize it every day on our farm. Right before we plant transplants, we make sure we turn the irrigation on and get the soil nice and wet, especially during the summer when it's 90 degrees. And then that helps our plants to kind of mitigate transplant shock during the summer if you water really well before you plant the transplants. Our farm's just too big to hand water, so once you get to that point, you'll know I can't hand water anymore because it's not, you're gonna drive yourself crazy, and you'll know when that time is. But if you need to hand water, if you have a small little garden area or even like a 1/4 acre or something, but maybe start looking into sprinklers if you want to make it easier on yourself. We use the mini wobbler sprinkler, so look into that. You can hook up a hose line to that and the irrigation, and it can get a large area watered really easily. Okay. Do you cover dahlias that you leave in the ground? So we dig all of our dahlias up out of the ground at some point over winter. Usually we're doing that in December, and we do that so that we can move the crop around the farm if we need to, and also because we sell dahlia tubers. If you leave your dahlias in the ground and you're somewhere where your ground may lightly freeze during winter, you are going to want to cover it. I've never had to do it because our ground does not technically freeze far enough down to damage a dahlia tuber in the ground. So I think I've seen some friends, they put down like a layer of like a tarp or a layer of plastic, and then they put maybe they do straw first, but you're going to want to do layers of straw and then it's mulch and then plastic, and it's something you can look into and get a better answer, but hopefully that gets you in the right direction. Okay. I'm trying to get rid of this comment. Response couldn't be removed. We'll just move on. Uh-oh. There we go. I'm having a terrible time with seed germination in soil blocks. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Also, I noticed your lights. Okay, so obviously I don't know exactly what's going wrong with your soil blocks, and that's all of your comment that I can see, unfortunately. But we only water our soil blocks once a day, and we pretty heavily water so that there's just a little tiny bit in our trays of standing water when we're finished watering. And then I usually start at the first soil block tray and go up and down my shelves, watering every tray first thing in the morning. And I make it to the end of the room, and then I go back and double check all of my trays again. So if there's a little too much standing water, I will dump that off into a bucket very gently so the blocks don't slide off the tray. And if there's not any standing water, like a little residual water in the tray, then I'll water it again. But I only water once a day. We don't really mist our seeds unless we know that it's a specific seed that would benefit from that. And if they're not germinating, you also have to look into your seed source. So I would, order seeds from Lisa at the Gardener's Workshop Farm. She's going to sell you good seeds. And then it just depends on what scale you are, but start with Lisa. Take her online course if you're a flower farmer and need to learn more sources about that. Okay. I'm having a hard time with these questions, moving them to the next one, and now I cannot see my next question. Okay. Y'all bear with me. It's trying to get me to search. And I know we have a lot more questions, so sorry about that. Okay, let me see if y'all typed any in the wrong spot because it's not letting me pull up other questions. So hey to everyone that joined. I know we said we'd be here till just 12, but I'm gonna see if I can fix this. Oh, my friends, I'm the best human ever. Grateful gardeners, they're so sweet. All right. I think everyone did a great job posting their questions in the right box. Okay, here's a couple. In zone 8B, what can I plant now? I can't wait for spring. So this is Pink Petal Co. Zone 8B, we are still planting stuff for summer. So we are planting zinnias, our last round, amaranth, celosias, and actually we're still planting dahlias, but I think we're about near the cutoff for that. We're trying to see how that works into October and November if it gives us fresher blooms. But there's lots of stuff you can still plant. And then if you're ready, you can still do sunflowers. We just planted marigolds. All the heat-loving stuff you can still get in there. The celosia, you have to look at the variety. We're probably getting to where that takes longer to grow, that it would actually bloom in our season. So you have to look at the days to maturity on your seed packets and see how long you have until the seeds that you plant actually start to bloom. Okay, have you ever considered growing dahlias in high tunnels to extend the season? And yes, we did that last year, and no, we are not doing that again this year. But I did utilize my high tunnels last season just because we had the bed space. We wanted to get stuff planted. And I actually ordered in, that's where I put my dahlia cuttings and some of my more specialty dahlia tubers last season. Honestly, when you're out there in the field with most of your dahlias, the ones in our tunnels ended up getting neglected. And there's not as much airflow in a tunnel, so you are going to get more powdery mildew on them and other stuff that you just have to watch. I don't know. I thought it was a good idea. I thought it would extend my dahlia season longer, and so that's something to look into. But honestly, at our farm, us specifically, I want to be done selling flowers at Halloween. So even though we don't get our first frost to the next week, which I know sounds crazy, like we are done and there's just not enough to really go around. So like I'll still sell to some of my closest customers until we get a frost, but I'm not advertising there. So we don't need them in a high tunnel, basically is what I'm telling you. And we just field plant all of our dahlias now. Okay, let's see if I can find another one. I hate that all those questions that got submitted, I can't see them. Let's see. Since you leave dahlias in the ground, do you cover? I'm in 7B and would love to leave mine. I don't think you really need to, but if you want to protect them, just to be careful, you can, like I said, look into putting the layers of straw mulch down. You may or may not need plastic on top of that, and you can, wish I could offer you more information on that. Where's our farm located? Okay, does celosia seed quickly, can I dry them? Yeah, you can definitely dry celosia. So I actually have a bucket right next to me, and we have this beautiful celosia. And right here is actually where it's going to grow all of its seeds. And if you leave this on the plant long enough, these will start to turn black, and that is where the seeds come out of. And one stem of celosia is going to have hundreds of celosia seeds. So let it get to maturity, and then you can dry them. You want to hang them upside down in a hot, dry place, and it doesn't take just a few days, maybe a week, for them to properly dry, and then they'll start to release their seeds, and you can save that and replant them the next season. Okay. People have lots of peonies. I recommend everyone get lots of peonies. They're so beautiful. And you can order some from us next season if you just need a few for your garden. We will be selling those this fall. And our dahlia tubers usually go on sale for our first sale in the fall, opens in October, and then we do a spring sale with the majority of our tubers once we've counted and labeled everything. That is usually the first week of March. Okay, my friend Janet at PS Flower Farm. Hey Daniel, I missed the first part. Dahlias fell over last year with a single net. Should I double net them? That's a great question. I tell myself every year that I wish I could double net them, but that you have to just decide if it's right for you. I'm going to double net my cafe au laits this year because they always fall over once they get a little too top heavy, and so I'm going to double net those, but I imagine it's going to be a pain for us to harvest, and if we're growing so many flowers, we don't want to add extra work to what we're doing. So I would say 95% of my dahlias are just getting a single layer of netting, but then if there's any that you specifically remember last season that fell over, then go in and throw a double net on there. I think it's Lady Natalie is a white dahlia that gets really tall. Blizzard can get tall, but yeah, the really, really tall ones, you may want to do 2 layers of netting. I went on vacation last year in August and came back, and we had a tropical storm blow through the farm, and yeah, I had a lot of dahlias that fell in August last year, and I wish they had been double netted. Y'all, I'm still trying to get back to the question bank. I bet there's a way for me to go back and answer after this live, so we're going to try to do that. Okay. Just scrolling through. Hope y'all are having a good day today. The weather here has been pretty good, but we're about to go into a heat wave. 95, 97 for the next week, so that's going to be fun, huh? Okay, Paul asked, do seeds go out of date? yes, seeds definitely go out of date, but if you store them properly, then you can get the longest life out of them. And sometimes it depends on your seed, but sometimes that's for many years. A seed will still germinate. For us on a flower farm, this is something to keep in mind. We don't want holes, and everything we do, we're working, and I'm paying our employees to get a job done. And so what I've noticed through the last 5 years, because believe me, I've tried to sow all my old seeds, and a lot of time your germination rate does decline, even though you will get some of the seeds in your packet to sprout. But for us, that's a waste of time. It's a waste of payroll, paying someone to sow old seeds. And then I'm always just disappointed in the end. It would have been a lot cheaper if I bought fresh seed, which I've started doing now every year. And that's just going to help me on our bottom line. And I'm not going to get as frustrated about it. But at home, find a spot in a raised bed and throw your seeds in there. Throw a little dirt and water it and see what happens. I bet you'll be surprised. Lisa has a thing on her website at not Petal Pickers, at gardenersworkshopfarm.com. She has like a seed saving resource, or seed storage resource. So it goes through and gives you the steps so that you can get the longest life out of your seeds. And we store our seeds in the freezer. We have a refrigerator freezer combo in the workshop here, and when we're not seeding trays, we just pop all the seeds in there. As long as the seeds are dry, you can put them in the freezer and that'll hold them for a lot longer time. All right, let's see if anyone else. Okay, hey Daniel, what are some flowers you wish you could grow but can't because of your zone? This is my buddy over in France. And okay, I wish I could grow ranunculus all season long. I can't start it as early as I would like to because we're too hot. And then in May, they just go from blooming their heads off like crazy to nothing. And the plants die off and turn brown. So we have a short window. Like I said, it's like a blessing and a curse here on our farm. We have 4 distinct seasons, which is pretty great because we can grow almost an entire array of flowers. But some of my favorites, like peonies, are only here for like 3 weeks in the spring. And ranunculus is only here for like 4 to 6 weeks. So some of my favorite ones I wish I could grow longer. I can't really think of any flower that I can't grow that I wish I could, but I'm sure there am. It's just because I'm live. I can't think of it. Okay, I'm in zone 6. I planted electron mix last season in October. They made it through the winter, not too happy. I got a few blooms. The plants are now lush and beautiful. Will they bloom this season? Okay, I don't know how to technically answer this, but I had the same thing. I had Dianthus electron in my raised bed garden, and they bloomed in spring. I planted them in fall. They bloomed in spring a little bit. They overwintered and then bloomed even better the following spring. So technically, I bet they will bloom if you leave them again. I would not personally leave an entire row of it on your farm because you're just taking a chance and your plants are going into winter really beefy. If you have like a freeze or something, it may kind of stunt your plants back and they may not do as well in the spring. That may be another reason why your plants didn't do as great as you wanted the first time. Maybe they got hit with a really hard frost or freeze and they weren't covered with Agribon or something to protect them. Just a guess. I could be wrong. We all wish plants could talk and tell us what's going on. Okay, last question. How long do you leave seedling planting? So that definitely depends on what seed you're starting. So like celosia seeds, I usually leave in the soil blocks in the grow room for 4 weeks. And then I move them outside under our protected area for a couple more weeks to harden off. Zinnias, only like 2 weeks. I grow them from seed and then they're ready to go get transplanted out into the field. Same with sunflowers. I only keep those inside for a week and a half, like 10 days to 14 days, and then I'll put them in the ground if it's a good planting day. But if that was specific on soil blocks, it's not necessarily that your soil blocks have a time limit, although they probably do, but it's your variety of seed that you're actually planting in there. So thanks everyone for being here today. This was fun. I might be back in a future week. I'm not sure, but I appreciate you asking me questions. I'll try to answer all the questions on the back end that I didn't answer live. And I'm just here to say that I'm an example. I took Lisa's online courses, and that's how I met her. And I just appreciate her guidance so much. So check out Lisa's website. If you want to ship a friend or loved one bouquet straight from our farm, again, head over to petalpickers.com, and we have flowers available to ship every week of our growing season. So if you think about us in the next couple months, we'll be happy to ship some flowers out to you. We ship in the continental U.S., so the lower 48 states. We can get it there next day. So thank you so much. Sign up for our newsletter on our website, petalpickers.com. Follow me at Petal Pickers on Instagram. I just started a TikTok, so you can check that out too. And I have to give a shout out to my husband, Wesley. You can follow more about our farm through his account, and that is at Farm Shenanigans on Instagram. And we also have a couple other businesses in town. We ship retail home decor products and gifts nationwide, also through our sister company, the Nested Fig. So at the Nested Fig, go check them out, and thank you so much. I hope y'all have a good day.